All right, we are live. Welcome to the Rabyd Atheist live stream. This is the Deconversion Hangout for Thursday. So there is that. I want to thank everybody for being here. Sorry for yesterday, but I woke up and did not feel well in a lot of different ways. And I think I over socialized myself on my birthday after doing a party with the fam and then hanging out with you guys, which was all great. And I had a wonderful time. But yeah, I woke up yesterday. I'm like, I don't want to do anything but go back to bed. So that's kind of what I did. Thanks for all that. Thanks for the space. I appreciate it. But I am your host, Ed Rabyd, former pastor turned atheist, now a compassionate anti-theist, and this is the Deconversion Hangout. You have to be a subscriber for at least 5 minutes to participate in chat. That's to keep the drive-by theists away. And also, we're strictly monitored today. This is about people deconverting or have questions about deconverting, or they're going through it or whatever. That's what this stream is about. I'm here to help. I'm not a psychologist or anything like that, but I have been deconverting for a while. I've studied it. I've talked to tons of deconverting people over the 5+ years of this channel. And so, I can give whatever practical advice I think I can give. But first, before we get into all that, let's see who's here. Well, I have to go way back. Fred, as always, seems to be the first one here half the time. Earl showed up, although she's panicking right now. Rimmer is here. Yeah. Going down, 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 down. It's a long conversation as poor Earl is getting ready to meet her mother. Okay. Howdy. And Alex is here. Kerbo is here. Eric is here. Katie is dragon. Okay. All right. Good to see all of you. That kind of goes to I had a comment conversation with somebody who found my video on prayer that I did. Jesus, got to be at least a year ago now. And he commented on there that he was at the point of becoming an atheist and prayer was the issue. Like he was asking God for something that seemed fairly reasonable for God to respond to. So there's that. So there's that. But yeah, it's oh yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, you got to be careful what you say around here, Katie. It will be taken the wrong way on purpose. So there's that. But that person was just talking to me about prayer and how prayer had not been working for them, and that was what started to cause them to question whether there was a God. And it was a really weird conversation because he's like, I'm an atheist. I don't like the thought of becoming an atheist, but it seems like the most reasonable conclusion. And I'm like, okay. Hey, Atomic. So there's that. But it was it's still kind of an ongoing conversation. I haven't decided what to reply, but his last thing was, I appreciate the atheist being very practical on stuff getting done instead of praying to an invisible imaginary friend. So it's that kind of stuff that happens every once in a while on the deconversion front where people deconvert, and it's over various issues. Like it's never the same thing that really starts people down the path, but once they get looking at faith and religion, it becomes a problem. Oh, The thought that footprints in the sand proves how little think about their religion. You're at a beach and he can walk on water and you're surprised about missing footprints. I've always had a problem with that poem. I had a problem with that when I was a Christian, that this is when I carried you kind of thing. And it's like, I don't know of a moment, even when I was a Christian, that I really felt that God was carrying things. I always felt like there was always something for me to do on my end with the whole Christianity thing. And so that poem just never really resonated with me in the first place. Yeah, I know, kid, you wouldn't have it any other way. Fred, you're going to be serious someday? Oh, boy. We'll have to mark that down. We'll make it a national holiday, too. So, yeah, a lot of people deconvert over prayer. I was very surprised by that, but then I'm not, I guess, because it's not like a rational thing per se. It's like, you're not looking at the Bible and saying this is bullshit because it doesn't line up or anything. What you're doing with prayer is you're having this personal experience where you're praying to God and nothing's happening. And a lot of people, believe it or not, that's the thought of, well, maybe there really isn't a God to pray to. Okay, maybe there's just nothing there. The reason I'm not getting any answers, I'm wasting my time. And then you start looking at the evidence for the existence of God and so on and so forth, and that kind of leads them down the path. But Christian practice does lead to deconversion because the promises that, the bullshit snake oil salesman promise doesn't line up with reality. So there's that. So oh, serious. Sounds serious and unpleasant. Okay, yeah. Infinite silliness. Yes, we need to have that more around here. Oh, it's a car, not a donkey. Yeah, I don't know how Jesus would know how to drive. He never experienced motor vehicles, so as far as I know, um, there was the old joke about how there is a car in the Bible because when they were on the day of Pentecost, they were all in one accord. The Honda Accord is in the Bible, so there's a few other jokes like that, like one of the states is in the Bible because Noah looked out of the Arkansas. So, which I can buy. Those are old dad jokes from way back. Christian dad jokes. Christian dad jokes are harder because you have to keep it clean. So, whole thing that is they aren't good enough and need God's help. Disgusting way of thinking to teach. Yeah, I it's this thing that it really bothers me now, probably more than anything. Atomic is how they make you dependent. They say you're making you dependent on God, but what it really is you're dependent on the church to tell you what to think about God, and so there's that. Oh, yeah, yeah. All right, all right, all right. Is the voice you hear in your head just you? I don't know, Fred. I've known you for a while. It could be something else. So, instead of the spaghetti. See, when I was a slave, I tried praying for 3 years. I prayed that God would emancipate me, but it was not until I prayed with my legs that I was emancipated. Yeah, Frederick Douglass kind of sums it up there. I mean, even we were doing St. Patrick, on St. Patrick's Day, and his story of leaving slavery. I'm like, dude, you just took a walk. You you're sitting there, shepherding somebody else's flock and praying that God will emancipate you, and then all of a sudden you get this idea in your head, maybe if I just walk east, I'll run into something and I can go back home. And sure enough, that's exactly what happens. It's like you you can pray forever and God doesn't do anything, but then you take action and something happens. And that's a big thing with deconversion is realizing that if you're going to get anything done, stop praying and start doing. Okay. It's the best. It, it's the best advice I can give you as a deconversion thing and that is, if you're wondering what to do, find something to do, quit praying and start doing something. Just, don't sit there and wait for somebody else to rescue you. The biggest thing you can get over is there is no Jesus on a white charger coming to rescue your butt. Okay. He's not going to save you. Okay. You didn't need saving in the first place. Okay. So when you're deconverting, you just kind of head down that path of practical reality. What do I got to do now? What do I have to do next? And it's an ongoing process depending on how long you were in the religion or cult you're in. I was in for a long time. So deconversion is kind of a big thing for me because I'm still going through it. Despite all the years of being out, it's like I still catch myself doing things like, oh, I'm like waiting for somebody to fix the problem. And it's training. It's the training that you're it's interesting you're quoting Frederick Douglass here because it's the slave mentality that Christianity in particular wants you to have. The Abrahamic religions definitely want you to be a slave to God, and dumping that mentality and going, no, I'm a free person and I'm going to, emancipate myself with my legs instead of my prayers. Yeah, I think that's one of the things. Yeah. Point out praying for things is heretical. Jesus said God already knows what you need, and Numbers says God doesn't change his mind. Attempting to affect God's behavior is blasphemy. But then you have Jesus also commanding us to pray. So it's like when you pray, he expects it. It's one of the great contradictions of Scripture is like you have a God that knows everything and it's not going to change his mind. Though there are several passages in the Scriptures also said God changes his mind, repents of the action that he intended, etc., etc. You see that in Jonah and a few other places. But yeah, it's there's so many contradictions with prayer when you throw prayer into the equation with God. So yes, it's when the punchline is obvious. It still is. It doesn't make you laugh so much as it makes you groan inside. Like, why are you part of the family? My dad used to do that, and I used to tell him, like, you keep telling me I can be replaced. I can replace those jokes with somebody else. Yes, bugger. Was that today? One of my favorite ones, the unicorn joke. Yeah. It concentrates anxiety about what your problem is. I think I don't know. I think there's benefits to self-talk because that's what you're really doing with prayer. You're talking to yourself. But I also think that it doesn't do you much good until you come up with a plan of action, like what you're going to do. What am I going to do with this information? And the problem with prayer is a lot of advice about prayer is, okay, you pray and then you have to wait. And you end up with this, as David points out, a learned helplessness. Like you're training yourself to be dependent on an entity that doesn't exist. And so you end up just waiting to do something and the problem doesn't get solved. It's my biggest concern when people come out of the faith is learning, okay, you got to do this shit yourself. Okay. Quit feeling you're helpless, quit feeling that you got to wait for something to happen. It's one of the biggest problems I have because I procrastinate pretty bad anyway, but it's like, prayer made it worse, because, well, I'm just waiting for God to do something. And yeah, and there are a lot of things that needed to be done in my life, but I punt them to God and then just not do anything, and they wouldn't get any better and probably got worse. Oh, some of the greatest proofs of evolution is that marsupials can develop in different areas of the world without connection. It's one of the great proofs of evolution. So it's almost like there's a common thing that happens when you just go through biology and physics. So let's see. Even as a Christian, my thought was I was given common sense. If I was sick, I would go to the doctor and pray. Now I know that one of those was really working. Yes, and that's the real issue that I usually have is people will say the prayer worked, and it's like, what else did you do? I had this discussion a couple of years ago with somebody who claimed that they were healed by a miracle. And when I really pressed them on it, they got several treatments at the hospital. They had regular care. They changed their diet. And it's like, maybe it wasn't the prayer. Maybe it was all the other stuff. Okay. I don't, at that point, it's really hard to argue with them, but it's like you've pointed out that all the other stuff is probably what worked. And that's what really bothered me about healing stories when I was in the Pentecostal church is I could, they went to the doctor, they got medication, they went through a medical procedure, and yet still they're saying, hey, thanks God for healing me. So, yeah. So there's that. Yeah. I wish a lot of times they followed Jesus's advice, prayed in their closet, and didn't bother the rest of us. Yeah, apparent dad jokes, obvious. Yeah, science works. Yeah, I also had to point out that Noah was a plagiarism, that there's an older flood myth than Noah. So, yeah, it's the Bible is a lot of plagiarism. There's a lot of ideas that existed elsewhere before the Bible put them together. So, particularly the Old Testament. Oh my God. So, yeah, you're not alone. The whole idea of prayer and practice, and I'm praying, that's not working, but I get up and go do something and that works. It seems like there's a different result. So um, well, good. I got you're, at least you know your dog. Yeah, it must have happened in Australia. Yeah, that's probably true. I'm going to get a play-by-play. All right, that's fair. Fair. Yeah, they did sort of, but I think you could also make an argument in some cases that certain traits develop separately and were exactly the same because the environment was the same. So it's possible. I don't know. I'm not. That's not my field. I'll punt that away because it's not my field. But you might be right. Hey, Triple E, good to see you. So there's that. Yeah, good thing you prayed for that specific medicine you needed. When you could just go down to the doctor, get it prescribed, and they gave it to you after you paid them money or something. Four dogs here. It's like living with a bunch of toddlers with ADHD and don't really speak your language. Yeah, that's the. We're kind of hitting the prayer thing and how prayer has led to some of the deconversions in there, like praying and the difference between prayer and actually doing something to go help yourself, and some of the nonsensical aspects of the prayer. Like Dragon Rider 75 says this one: why do players and coaches thank a deity after they won in sports? It wasn't God who did that. It's the hard work on the court or on the field that got them the win. March Madness related question. My son's a coach, and he's now he was a theist and he was an atheist. Now he's back to being a theist. I can never pin my kids down. But and they should know better after dad is revealing to them how the bullshit is taught. Um, but I used to have that question because nobody ever blames God when they lose. You ever notice that part of it? Like it's God always gets a pass. If you lose, well, there's some lesson that I'm supposed to learn from Jesus about all this. And when you pray to win and you win, it's like, yes, God wanted us to win this victory. And it's like, I don't, I used to think, get to a point where I'm like, does God even give a shit? Okay. Does he care? Um, and and we're talking about, courts and basketballs and fields, and I love sports, don't get me wrong, but it's like, if I'm going to focus my prayers on something, how about, world famine and hunger? How about, and then, oh, there's another great one. We'll pray about, feeding the starving kids, and then, write a check or, go down and, volunteer and actually do something to actually deal with the problem. you know, um, that's that. It's like it's the pragmatics of what happened. It's also, I think, giving credit to God when somebody wins a sport. It's like that kind of diminishes. You're very right. It diminishes all the hard work they did to get there. Especially team sports. Team sports require a lot more than just individual effort. There's learning how to play good as a team. So, yeah, it's amazing. Probably because there's lots of floods around the world. It happens everywhere. There's a lot of water on this planet. So, mythology, sociology, maybe yes. Yeah, it's an open forum here for those of us deconverting. I try to keep the theists out as much as possible. They occasionally get through, and when they get through on this one, they've waited for 5 minutes to talk, and then they go complete ape shit. So just be advised. Yeah, bad stuff happens everywhere. Yep. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't get in a tizzy about it when people do it, I guess, anymore. I expect it out of Christians, but it's like it's a good opportunity to demonstrate the silliness of it. It's like, your your players did a lot of work there. You've worked all off season, your coaching techniques, all the stuff that you put together probably contributed more than any prayer to the victory. So yeah. Yeah, similar way, similar development. Um, let's see which one was up first. Okay, all right. See, I bow to your superior knowledge, Rimmer, because I am just like when it comes to biology and stuff, I'm so behind because I was a theist so long. Like every time Aaron Ra drops a science video, I'm down. He does a really good science videos and good education videos. When he deals with the Bible, I sometimes cringe at moments because he demonstrates that he doesn't know it as well sometimes as people think he does. But when he does his science videos, I'm kind of down for that. And even he has to correct himself from time to time. So that's the beauty of science is we can make statements and somebody says, "Oh no, this is what they discovered over here." And this is what's been peer reviewed. And this is, it's a lot better than researching the Bible where I'm just trying to figure out which claims to believe because I want to believe them. So, yeah, which does God favor today? May the odds be ever in your favor. So, but yeah, I learned so much when I was a football player, like about how to get along with people, like, achieving a goal with people you don't like, okay, necessarily, but you got to play like a team. And that stuck with me. Like half of my football team when I was growing up, I didn't like them. They were bullies, they were jocks. I was an athlete, but I was also a nerd. So, and I was also autistic now that I know that. And so I was weird. And so half these guys I'd play with would still pick on me, they wouldn't pick on me as much once I became a football player and I put on some size. They started to leave me alone. But yeah, I learned a lot from playing team sports, but this is one of those things. It's like, bro, giving God the credit for all the work that we did, I think that's kind of rude. So I kind of think that's kind of rude now. So it's funny at Thanksgiving time, remember that people say, well, you don't believe in God. Who do you think? I thank real people. Okay. I, every year at Thanksgiving time, I make sure my therapist knows that I appreciate her, because she's helped me so much navigate these waters that I now dwell in. I think whenever I go into the hospital, I've always thanked the nurses and the doctors profusely for their services. Today, I got an oil change, and the guys working on my car said, "Hey, thanks, guys. Appreciate all the work you do," kind of thing. And getting away from prayer and getting to actually looking at the real people in your life that probably deserve some thanks or credit for what gets done. If somebody does something for you, quit thanking God for it. Thank them. Kind of like, you're probably talking about my kids. Yeah, they had to sit under me as I preached. And I know for a fact that some of them still believe because of some of the stuff I taught them. and it's like, now it's like, dude, I've realized this is wrong, but they still cling to it. It's one of the real problems with pastors' kids. If you're a pastor out there or a pastor's kid, know that I have high feelings for you, because I can tell a pastor's kid a mile off and it's because they're a little bit judgmental, because they're always being judged. And so their defense mechanism is used to be judgmental back. They get very judgmental of other people. As kind of a defense, this one lady I worked with, I knew she was a pastor's kid before she told me. So, so that's kind of how I know that. But yeah, it's one of those things that bothers me, but I realize why it exists. And so I taught them too well. And that's the problem. When you're a former Christian education pastor and your kids become part of your congregation, things like that, because they have to be, yeah, it's something you deal with. It's something I go to therapy about. So, oh my God. Hey, Randy, good to see you. I'm doing much better. Yesterday, I overstimulated my social anxiety on my birthday, and I think that was the problem. I now realize how much of my stomach ailments every once in a while that flare up is very connected with my anxiety level. So by managing my anxiety, I kind of do that. But my social anxiety definitely kicked in yesterday. It's like, oh, we're not doing it today. Go hide. So Christians would leave God alone about their damn car keys, and maybe they'd have time to take care of some of the starving children. It's a good line. I've done that with Christians before that are like looking for something. I'm going to pray to God. I'm like, if you'd stop bothering them about your car keys and just do something that made sense so you didn't lose them in the first place, then he could actually handle the starving kids. So there's that. So, see, every civilization know what else civilization has: population centers next to massive bodies of water. Yeah, it's amazing how we live next to water because we need it. Yeah. I'm not gonna get into that part. I always belong to my son's a coach, and he uses that platform very well for two things that I'm actually kind of proud of him for, which is he mentors men. From his standpoint, he's a mentor, not necessarily he's trying to get winning football games. That's how he keeps a job, but he's also very much a mentor to them. He leaves his door open. If they have a problem or issue, he's always there for them. And, other things he does is he always makes sure his football team's engaged in being good people to the community. So I've always admired him for those two qualities. So, and a lot of sports teams are that way, actually. My keys is starting. Yeah, the buttons that God has to push. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Don't forget the like button. I also still have a goal for the week, whether we're going to have a Saturday stream. So you can help with that if you want to. But I've already reached a couple goals this week. So we'll be having a Friday stream tomorrow. I'm trying to find a dating video to react to because they're a lot of fun. So a Christian dating advice video, because I'm entering the world of dating again, and I should get some Christian advice because I'm sure they'll be very helpful. Oh. Oh, let's see. And it's the only prayer I prayed for was my girlfriend to be Christian. I talked to her about the Gospels for hours, and she got saved in private. She kept it a secret, but now neither of us believe in Yahweh. Okay, so it worked out, but it didn't work out. Because the one foible about making sure that your bride-to-be is a Christian is that can change. Okay, my ex-wife is still a Christian, and it became a problem because she loved being a pastor's wife, and I was not going to be that anymore. And it was something in between us. So yeah, but people change their beliefs, and so that becomes a problem. So yeah, thank the people, not God. It really heightens your empathy. I think the problem I have with prayer and thanking God is it really diminishes your empathy for the people around you that are actually doing good things. It cuts against the everybody's a sinner. And when you have that notion that everybody's a sinner, then you kind of look at people and, oh, they're doing something, but there's some ulterior motive. And it's like, well, yeah, they got to eat, kind of thing. But it doesn't change the fact that you should, that giving credit to God kind of diminishes your empathy for people and what they do for you. It allows you to block that out. And, part of deconverting is getting rid of that attitude. There's a lot of people that help you out on a daily basis that deserve a thank you, just basic politeness, human dignity, giving them the dignity they deserve. And I think prayer, giving thanks to God, for instance, diminishes that so much. So, damn it, 30%. Okay, there you go. Yeah, I mean, but that's true. Do I feel uncomfortable around praying people? Yes. Um, I don't have to deal with it as much as I used to as a pastor when I was in the midst of being an atheist for 2 years as a pastor. I was very uncomfortable around people praying. So I don't have to deal with it as much, but I get what you're saying. And I think it's because you realize that this person believes that they have some sort of hotline to God and you don't. Okay. And that always makes me a little nervous. It was Christopher Hitchens and the one preacher that's dead. They're both dead now, but he addressed that issue where that guy asked him, would you feel more comfortable or less comfortable if you knew that this group of people approaching you had come from a prayer meeting? And Christopher Hitchens says, yes, I've had that experience actually, in the Middle East. And yes, it made me more uncomfortable. Okay. So it's, when you are dealing with somebody who believes they're speaking to God and hearing from God, and that just makes me nervous now, because I never know what their God is going to tell them to do. Okay, and it's about them tapping into whatever they really want to do, and justifying it. And so, yes, I can see why somebody feels uncomfortable with that or try to snow you. Yeah, I trust most humans until they fuck me over. But yes, one of the effects a lot of people have. Yeah, St. Anthony is the patron saint of lost things. Pray to him instead. He's got time to look for your lost shit. God's too busy with the starving people. Oh. Uh, as a non-believer, I get to look around and see which of the Christians aren't really praying either. That is an interesting thing to do at family gatherings because I am now convinced that in your average family gathering, everybody's a Christian or whatever because it's social lubrication. But when you really look at whether people really believe about things, see what they're practicing, it's actually a really good idea to kind of look at that. So there's that. Uh, yes. Oh. See, see, two of my sisters work at a Catholic church and they pray the rosary all the time. They gave me several rosaries. Here's a topic for chat. Um, all these religious things that people hand you, tracts, rosaries, is there an alternative secular use for some of this shit? Crucifixes. I mean, I know crucifixes have the added benefit of vampire hunting capabilities, but is there any other practical use for what do you do with a rosary, coyote, when you know you're not going to use it? Yeah. Do you throw it in the trash or is there a practical use for it? Is there a practical oh, yes, there you go. It's always good to make it. Yeah, so trash, okay. Most of them burn, so you can use them as fuel. Oh yeah, you have a niece that celebrated and astounded when you became an atheist. That's outstanding. The thing is about family members. A lot of family members are doing it for show because they just don't. They don't want to. I'm convinced that percentage is probably a lot higher than most people believe. Um, yeah, see, that's what I'm looking at. I mean, what do you do with rosary beads? Because I've never been a Catholic, so the rosary thing always confused the hell out of me in the first place. I get it's kind of like a tool. You hit a certain bead and you pray a certain prayer and you just keep going around the thing. And I'm like, well, that's convenient. It's a nice little fidget. Give it to people in your congregation that need something to fidget with. You could make a bunch of rosaries together, make a Buddhist necklace. That's called upcycling. It could be. I consider this a deconversion issue because I have a few Christian things left over from when I was a pastor and stuff around the house. I have a couple keepsakes. Like I have a cross that I still have. It's just a simple wooden thing, but I got it when I was 4 years old and had my tonsils out. And somebody gave it to me as a gift. And then it ended up on my wall every place I lived until I wasn't a Christian anymore. Now it's just kind of in a box. And, it's like, uh, I don't know. To me, it's a deconversion issue because you have all these symbols around your house of what you used to be. And I struggle with what the hell do I do with all this stuff now? I mean, I get the ones that are made out of paper make great kindling. I get that. So you can start fires with that shit. But it's like, what do you do with the rest of it? Some of the bigger Bibles make great doorstops. I'm just trying to find out good uses for other things. Like the rosary intrigues me. Um, there's so there's that. So I don't know what's going to happen. Let's see. The thing is, the reason there's Catholic porn is reasons. Okay. And I'm fairly certain you can find something in all of that. The Catholics have already thought about how to do that. I'm just saying, Eric. So there's that. What is that? Okay, here, hold on. Hold on. I got to know. Uh, oh, man. All those leather boxes. I don't know what you do with those, man. The leather little phylactery boxes and all that shit. Yeah. Rosary beads can be restrung with an atheist charm. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I just, one of the struggles I had after I left the faith is and I finally got out of the church was, what do I do with all this religious shit that I have? I gave the vast majority of my pastoral library to Goodwill. There's somebody out there that believes could use that. I don't know. I didn't feel like burning all of it. That would have been quite the bonfire. You can hang crosses upside down. Okay, that's fair. I could hang the cross upside down. Oh, how dare she? Wearing shoes inside a dwelling? What the hell? There's something wrong with that. There's a proper place for rubbish. You can either give it back or bin it. Okay. Just blaspheme with it. It's fun. Okay. I don't know. Anything tells if anything burns at a high enough temp. See, but that's the thing. I'm trying to recycle some stuff. I had a few books in my pastoral library that would have made great doorstops. Like I could have, turned them into that. So you gave all your stuff away to anybody that kept wanting to do it. I find that's actually a very common answer, Lee. It's like people, I don't need this stuff anymore. You can have it. Okay. Okay, there you go. I'm sure the Catholics have probably already thought about that one. I'm not a germaphobe, but I think it's culturally inappropriate to wear shoes into somebody else's domicile. I'm with the Japanese on this one. Take them shoes off, at the doorway. That's why you have an entryway for. I like to lose my shoes at the door when I come in and there's nobody here but me. So I can't imagine that one. Fitted carpets. This is the other thing I was thinking of. Could you turn rosary beads into like beaded curtains? Could you do that? Could you like get a bunch of them and just turn them into a beaded curtain? How would you do that? I think that would be a good one for the rosary. That's mental masturbation. Okay, yeah. I see. That's the thing about it. See, that's why I say making it, getting rid of it, burning it, making it into something else that isn't religious is really therapeutic as far as deconversion. Like you have all this stuff that you used to have, you spent money on. What do you do with it now? I had, as a pastor, the pastoral library thing was the most awful thing I did because it was like I had built that up over literally 20 years of ministry. I had all these books and stuff, to help me do my job. And now I didn't need any of them. And probably the only ones I regret getting rid of now that I'm doing an atheist channel is I had a lot of Greek and Hebrew stuff that I used to use all the time, but I don't have. But then again, I can get online now and pretty much find the same tools. So you can't walk proper without them. All right. I'll allow that to pass. But, if you come over to my house, understand the best way to keep carpets clean is keep shoes off of them, period. So Yeah, I mean, okay, you have earth floors. I get it. This resell my religious library. Okay. Yeah, you see, that's the thing, because then you resold it, so you got some of the money back. Okay, and then I would take that money and go spend it on myself. Yeah, I don't think that's a religious accommodation. That just didn't make any sense. That sounds so. I agreed with you. That's like a totally made up story. You could do a beaded car seat. I suppose that might. Would rosary beads really work on your back that well? I don't know. I don't have very many of them. A priest flask to use as a flask. Oh, yeah. I work at Walmart, so I don't know what I'm stepping in, and I don't want to know half the time. And so when I get here, it's like, mm. And I live in mud central right now, so the mud stays at the door where I can clean it up easier. So, so, but yeah, I'm very curious what to do with the religious books and artifacts that we collect when we're in a religion and then you come out, because I see so many people. It's a question I get often, and have gotten often over the 5+ years of running this channel. Is I've got all this religious stuff. What do I do with it? I don't believe any of this stuff anymore. What do I do with it? I said, well, if it's tracts, pamphlets, all that stuff, keep it for kindling, to start fires and stuff. Um, but some of the rest of it is like, give it to people that care. Sell it to people that care if you can sell it, and get some of your money back. But there's like a lot of artifacts like crucifixes, rosary beads, candles, incense. To me, a good candle and incense is still a good thing. It's some people have that. They can tell you what time of year it is by walking into a church and taking a sniff. So it's like it can be, in some religious contexts, it can be that bad. And I've had those questions over the years, like, how do you deal with that stuff? And I've often thought, if you're a crafty person, some of this stuff you could break down and turn into something else. So, and that might actually be like therapeutic to turn it into something else, very symbolic of you turning yourself into something else. If you're the kind of artsy person, I think you could probably find things to do with some of this stuff. So, yeah, there's definitely an aesthetic to the rosary bead that a lot of people like. I mean, I'm not against it. I know what they're used for, and it's like I can understand it as an indoctrination training tool. Repetition is a powerful tool in indoctrination. Just keep people repeating the same shit over and over again. So, so there's that. All right. Well, see you later, Rimmer. Always glad when you show up, no matter how long it is. Um, it's nice to know there's a few Swedes out there that are nice. Legit, if I didn't have family in Michigan, and if I was truly genuinely alone and didn't have any connections, Sweden would be on my top list of places to immigrate to right now. So just to get out of here. So, oh, they are. So like, I get the candles. Like, candles are very useful. Like, they are super useful for a lot of reasons. And I still like occasionally meditate, like, to clear my head. Like, it's not a spiritual thing. It's mostly just but having a focus kind of helps you do that. And candles are pretty damn good for a focus. So, I mean, there's mental things you can do that are spiritual, but not really. And candles are great for a lot of them. Yeah, yeah, got the general idea. But I see, the thing is, Atomic, I've got my mom here, all my kids live here. my grandkids are here. That's the biggest reason, the grandkids. I should tell stories from my birthday, shouldn't I? One of the great stories that happened a couple of days ago is like I'm going to this birthday celebration that my daughter's throwing, and she's like, "Well, what presents are we going to get Papa?" Well, we don't generally get Papa presents. And her reaction to that was beautiful. She says, how can you have a birthday where the person doesn't get a present? And so she literally, this lovely girl, granddaughter of mine, bought me, she made a poster for me to put on my fridge, and bought me some candy and a card. And this is the thing I'm talking about when I say these are the moments that mean more to me now that I'm an atheist, because it's like I'm never going to have that experience again where my granddaughter comes to this realization of, all that. So, so, oh, yeah, they can be damn dangerous too. So, but but I love the whole gothic look. I mean, one of my favorite all-time computer games is Darkest Dungeon, the original, not the two, but that whole gothic, dark, fighting against, I don't see cranky elder god here, but fighting against the elder gods vibe. I love that vibe and thrive in it. So, but yeah, candles are a good thing about that, light in the darkness. Yeah, see, I'm wondering what people would do with their old like pictures too. There's a topic for discussion. Like I have a friend whose mother has, like, it seems like she has 25 different pictures of the Virgin Mary. What do you do with those if you're no longer Catholic? You inherit all that. What do you do with them? I'm curious. So, how do you get over the object fetish that most religions have? So it's coming back for everyone. Dark and dangerous looking persuasion. Candles and LED lights. Yep. LEDs. Yeah, I'm down. I'm down. But yeah, I've always been this. I love wolves and ravens, and when I do go to a Renaissance festival, it's often as Odin the Allfather, and have a dark, real look to that, or my dark wizard look. So yeah, it's been I've embraced that part of my personality pretty well now. When I was a Christian, I really couldn't, and so now I think I've gone overboard with it. So, uh, so bring up your job fairly regularly. I feel I would tell you all that both jobs are considered high stress. I salute your resilience. Yes, I work in retail, so and it is considered a high stress job because you have to deal with people. I don't deal with people as much though. I found my niche, because I can be out at night and not be considered a weirdo, even though I am. So. In my work with grief and loss, I have to be able to work with everyone's faith and put my belief on hold because I want them to use what they can. Yes. Um, I've often said it, Randy, and I'll say it again. You have to make the decision with family and friends. Do you want to have family and friends, or do you want to be right? Because a lot of times that's what it comes down to. And the reason I don't bring up atheism much with my family is I'd rather have my family. I'd rather have the love and the kids and the hugging necks and that stuff of thing. It's just it's a decision you have to make when you're deconverting. Do you want the relationships, or do you want to be right? Okay. Yeah, they're also very different. Ravens and cloves are crows are very different birds, but they do seem to be around there. Yeah, I can understand. The thing in retail, they always tell you the customer is always right. Yeah, I can tell you that that's fucking wrong. Not just wrong, fucking wrong. Um, the customer is always needy, and because they're always needy, some of them handle it well and some of them don't. And when they don't get what they want, it's like, it's like, I can't help you that. Yeah, see, Earl and I are volunteering for these stressful jobs, socially stressful jobs. It's almost like we're gluttons for punishment. Because I was a pastor, for 20 years, and that's a stressful job because you're constantly dealing with humans. So there's that. But yeah, it's just. I knew you would be. You know full well what happens there. You're trying to get your mom's approval, and then you realize it's not going to happen. So why bother? So there you go. Yes, I'm wearing a blue shirt today, and nobody noticed, but I'm not wearing black today. I've run out of black shirts. I have to do laundry, so and that I don't do that until the weekend. So I've got my blue shirt on for my last day of work today. So maybe I'm not sure about that either. I think sometimes some customers' tastes. I'm like, are you serious? The self deletion rate in the dental field is high. Yeah, it is high. I wonder why that is. Yeah. Manager in fast food. Oh boy, I can't imagine. I don't even want to. No. Oh, bad managers. Now there's a thought. I dislike managers that treat me like an idiot, like I don't know what I'm talking about. And when it's especially when it's something that I do every day. Like I do this every day, and you're talking to me like I'm a child about it, and it's like, nope. I also don't like managers that ask you to do something that you know full damn well they wouldn't do themselves. So it's like, so there's that. Yeah, I maybe that's because that you might be right about that. I think when you look at the medical field in general, self deletion is actually kind of a problem, and it's because you have to hurt people to make them better sometimes. And yeah, it's purposely hurting people, and some people are just too empathic for that. So I get it. Yeah. Oh. Uh, uh. Yes, belittling managers or degenerate managers. I There is a deconversion issue here too, Katie. For me, it's like a lot of religious leaders, for instance, act like they're a higher authority than everybody else. And when I have managers that act that way, like they're the higher authority than everybody else, and everybody else has to kind of bow to them, yeah, F off. It's like I I feel like it just triggers that, I'm the authority, so I'm right mentality, and I just hate that mentality. To me, a good manager realizes that the name on their little title that they have doesn't mean shit, and that they need to lead by example. Those are my good managers. If somebody leads by example, I will follow that person into hell. So, the fictitious hell that doesn't exist. Um, I will absolutely do that. Good managers are rare though, because too many of them like the authority and the money, and they don't like the leadership aspects of it, of how to get the most out of people, which usually means treating people well and being honest with them, something in religion you're never taught to do. I don't know. I had a hard time as a pastor because I was always too honest with everybody. Yeah, they can be. I also know some doctors. It's really like a, I don't know. Every doctor I meet, it's like hit or miss. It's like one or the other. Like they're arrogant bastards that think they have hold the life and death of people in their hands, or there's people that are very humble about it and realize that they have limitations. And usually, it's the second sort that I gravitate toward. But yeah, I get you. I get you. I This little small town I live in has been home to many an arrogant bastard of who is doctors. Some of them who have fathered many children among the nurses. So that's another gossip story for another day. So, yeah. Yes, I look for people who know what this is actually about. You know, one of the things that in the church that I learned that was bad was the very authoritarian type of leadership where you're the man of God, so you get to tell everybody else what to do. And when I see that in secular management, they don't say I'm the man of God. That's what I'm supposed to. I've got the title, so you have to do what I tell you. That's not leading, that's pushing. Okay, that's not managing either. So, but there's good managers out there. And that's why I was saying earlier, make sure you thank real people. If you feel like whoever is leading you in some area is doing a good job, tell them, I think it would make their day, so. Yeah, me too. Um, but I get it too. Like sometimes you can't be that nice. You have to push for yourself. It's one of the things this is a deconversion issue for me because as a pastor, I was always such a nice guy. I had to be diplomatic all the time and couldn't really be mean. And sometimes you have to stand up for yourself because people are being rude and obnoxious. And I don't do that well. So, um, yeah. Yes, I learned that if a manager I like tried to make them look good, yeah, I mean, if you make the good managers look good as bosses, it's a good thing. They're taking care of you, so you take care of them. That's one of my rules as well, Katie. So, yeah, bigotry, bossiness. Yeah, there's a difference between being boss and being bossy. I learned that from an '80s movie. The one where oh gosh, what is it? The one where um, these kids are going to space camp. Yeah, it's space camp, and they end up going into space in the shuttle. So, yeah, this is the point. It's inherently authoritarian, and religion is usually inherently authoritarian. I've had that discussion many, many times for people that you have to get over the authoritarian aspects of things when you leave faith because many religions, this is the way it is, this is the truth, and this is what you have to follow. That's very authoritarian thinking. And when you get out of that, it's like, question everything. Question everything. So, so there's that. So I'll make sure before I cut off, because I do have to go to work here in an hour or so, and I haven't had anything to eat yet. So, yeah, but good discussion on prayer today, and how it's kind of useless. I've had that experience so many times with people coming to this channel. I prayed for something and it didn't happen, and I'm now questioning the existence of God. It's a big one. It's a personal experience thing. I get that, but it's the personal experiences that sometimes lead you to looking at the rest of faith. And so prayer is one of those good ones, but learning to be thankful to actual people that do you stuff good. And there's some good thoughts here today, getting away from the authoritarian ideas, and even had a few good ideas of what to do with all these Christian gadgetry and clutter that we have in our lives, from books to stuff like that. So it was good discussion tonight. Thank you everybody for coming out, but I do have to run. Tomorrow will be a video reaction. I haven't picked the video yet, so that's why it isn't up yet. But I'm going to be looking at, I'm going back into the dating world and I want to know what not to do. So I'm going to probably do a Christian dating advice thing and react to that. And this is what I'm not going to do. So thanks everybody for coming out. I appreciate all of you. Still working towards that goal of a Saturday stream, but I'll take the night off too. Either one is desirable. So thanks everybody for coming out. Appreciate you. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Everything you do helps this channel grow, and hopefully I'll be starting to work on some other things that'll help it grow as well. So thanks everybody. Appreciate all of you. Remember to live your best life. You only get one go around and then it's over. So make sure you take all your time, your money, your opportunities, and give them to yourself, the people you love and care for, and to make this a better world. You'll be happier if you do. And don't waste them on the trappings of religion and faith, because that's a dead end. I speak from experience. And as always, everybody, thanks for stopping by, and I will catch you next time.